the Dog Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.
You're listening to the one and only Dawgs Show. Your hosts, Troop Brinson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dawgs Show with Troop and Smooch. And welcome, fans. We're so glad to be back. It has been a nice little off week, and we've collected ourselves as we approach the first round of the playoffs this week, Smooch. It's not only that, there's been a lot of other stuff going on with players kind of coming and going or going more so with the transfer portal. We're going to talk about that. And we got some ball games to talk about, too, this weekend.
Yeah, there were so many folks that did not like playoff expansion and that type of thing. But this time of year is really fun because there's so much going on that even without Georgia playing, there's so much good drama. Brandon Adams talks about all the time. He loves drama. There's so much going on in the football zeitgeist right now that it is a fun time of year. So they have engineered that.
Well, it's not. It's that I think the transfer portal doesn't open up till January 3rd, something like second or third. So after second round of games, but players are jumping in. And I will say that before we talk about that, we did have the Heisman Trophy votes, and I guess we had a winner, of course. Yeah. Mendoza did win that. But that wasn't even the main story. It felt like everybody's talking about it the last couple of days. It's the fall of what the public thinks about Diego Pavia at this point, because he hasn't handled himself very well. He kind of thinks he's just a different cat. Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. And he looks much shorter than I thought he was. Man, he's a little guy compared to those other quarterbacks. But yeah, he hasn't done himself any favors, because you should be thinking at this point everything is part of an interview for your professional career.
100%. That's perfectly said. He has, and you should always be aware, and I know at Georgia they tell these guys this all the time, if the media is hyping you up, they are looking for an opportunity to tear you down.
That's a good point.
You get hyped up and put up on a pedestal, your margin of error for stupid stuff you can say shrinks along with your ascension in direct opposite correlation to it. And so, yeah, he popped off a little bit, unhappy about it. There's already the stuff with his mom and their,
his father and his brother, had they both been arrested from ball games at some point this year?
I believe it's something like that. Family business. I don't really. It's your family. I don't care what you do, but they just have loaded the ammunition for all this. And guys, people like this don't really recover well from that. You're not. I mean, those types of things sting, and they stay with a player once you get labeled and once you make a fool of yourself. It takes a while to dig out of that hole. And he's dug himself a pretty nice hole over the last few days.
Yeah, and he doesn't really have the measurables that teams are going to take some kind of excessive chance on him. Anyway, he'll have an opportunity to play ball. And whatever he does with it, we'll see. I do invite you fans to, if you're listening on the audio version of our show, switch on over. Take a look at YouTube. Smooch is very festive tonight.
Oh, yes.
And
ho, ho, ho.
I've got my DGD outdoors shirt on.
Yeah.
And I really like watching those guys. And they're taking Georgia players out fishing and hunting, things like that. And so I'm like, okay, let's go. I love it. And so
far, the Dog Show has not been invited fishing. But
yes,
we think with this continuous product placement that will at some point be invited. So,
well, if you're doing that, it's much more fun. You invite somebody who's not very good at that, and fans can watch it. If me and Smooch were on there,
it's a fishing clinic at that point. Yes,
I don't think that's what they want. So anyway, very good product. Like what they do with Georgia players. Enjoy watching it, and so hit us up there, fellas. Yeah. Let us know. But yeah, check us out on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. We're doing really well there. We're having a lot of fun. Comments have been going crazy. Last week, a lot of comments.
Yeah.
And just having a good time on YouTube. And you can find us on Twitter and TikTok as well. Obviously, we're everywhere with our content. But Smooch, it does seem with some of these teams not having ball games or their quest for championships over, you're seeing these players hit the portal. And I mean, we can talk about any player, but I think the more marquee and more impact players are the quarterbacks that are finding their way into the portal. Just this past few days, you did see Lagway from Florida. He's hitting the portal.
Yep.
Raiola. I'm kind of surprised that he's leaving Nebraska based on the way that happened. But then if you look at his history, he couldn't stay at a high school for very long.
He's a rolling stone, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got what's his name? Levitt from Arizona State in the portal. Sorsby from Cincinnati, and then just recently, I don't think he's officially hit when we're recording this, but Aaron Philo from Georgia Tech may be going to follow Buster Faulkner from Tech to Florida, and that's got to hurt those guys because it just right in the past couple weeks they may be losing both their quarterbacks, and Haynes King and Philo, who they were patiently waiting.
Right,
he's a high school record holder in Georgia. I think he passed, like you said in the pre-show. Trevor Lawrence's some of his passing statistics
he did
for a career. He beat Swainsboro twice. Aaron played for Prince Avenue. Mm-hmm. He beat Swainsboro twice for 2 state championships, and so DeMello Jones was there. He actually threw a pick 6 to DeMello on one play, 100-yarder. Wow. But we may get to see him again at Florida, which would be a much bigger stage than Georgia Tech puts us on. Mm-hmm. So, but they may lose both their quarterbacks. One to eligibility, one to transfer, and their offensive coordinator. So things are changing for Georgia Tech. What's changing for a lot of teams when these quarterbacks can come and go. So it may be that Florida's trading Lagway for Aaron Philo.
It could very well be. I always thought it was silly that, and it was. I think you said this too. It was really more of an indictment on the school that he went to in high school. He stayed a 3-star throughout the process, even while he's beating Trevor Lawrence records. While he's taking down teams that have 5 stars all over them. But the idea of going to Florida, so if Philo goes to Florida, I think Lagway goes to LSU.
Think so?
That's my call. I think that there's got to be guys salivating over that arm and that athleticism. And, Lane is every bit arrogant enough to think that he can coach through any sort of mental block or processing problem a quarterback might have. He feels that's all within his wheelhouse. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see.
If Lagway was what we anticipated he would be, and he wanted to hit the portal, I think you're exactly right. That would be the place to go. I think people are reassessing what kind of player he really is, what he's, how he's developed, and I think he's a good dude. I don't think there's any reports on him being a problem.
Right.
But he's just not the player we anticipated based on sometimes those measurables just don't match up to your performance. And that's kind of been the case with Lagway.
And when when he first came in and made those splashes, he was coming into games where people weren't preparing for him throughout the week, and he makes some huge splash plays because the talent's there. No one denies that. But the football player might not be there. That's what we're kind of waiting to see.
It's very similar to what Nico did at Tennessee because when he was getting – he'd do the same thing. He'd come in the second half against teams who were already beaten and put up big numbers and get everybody salivating and it's just tough. Quarterbacks take some time to develop and you got to – sometimes they had to be patient. It's rare that quarterbacks just come in and light it up from the get-go. It's a tough position. And – so they don't always process the same way. They don't always. A lot of times it's about it is such a mental game, but you got to have all the tools as well. So I'll be interested to see where he goes. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Raiola probably will end up at Miami.
I can see that.
It just seems like a fit for him, right? Because they're going to be losing Carson Beck. I don't know what they have back behind Beck.
Yeah. I just don't. We were disappointed when we lost Raiola. Mm-hmm. But he has not shown that it factor at all. It's interesting. Think about Luke. We lost Raiola and Arch Manning and it's looking like, okay, we're doing just fine. Like it's not like they went somewhere and lit it up and we're in Heisman competition, Heisman consideration. No, Gunnar Stockton is, by the way. That's who's in Heisman consideration, especially going into next year. But Raiola to Miami makes a lot of sense. I'd pay to see it. We'll see what happens.
But send this out. This right here.
Yeah.
Look at Gunnar Stockton in one of his press releases. I think it might have been Hayes Fawcett when he was just announcing his commitment and coming out of high school. Don't forget, this guy, if he would have camped, he was already a 5-star, but he lost some of that. People passed him because they camped and got all the more accolades and more eyeballs on him. Right. But this is where he was as he's coming out of high school. So Gunnar Stockton, he's one of those guys that he surprised me. I'll say he surprised me, and now it's going to be so much fun to talk about what he and his team could do next year. We got plenty of time to talk about that, but man, oh man, this young team coming back next year is going to be a lot of fun in the offseason to talk about, and I can't wait for it. But we've got a lot on our plate. We could win a championship this year, Smooch.
Remember this time last year, Ohio State was putting together those games. We were like, oh, can any team beat this team? Ohio State was playing those games last year at this point in the season. This year, it's Georgia. The Georgia that played Alabama doesn't lose to anyone that's left in this tournament.
Alabama!
Maintain that level of play is a different story. But the level that they took onto the field for the SEC title game, there's not a team left that can beat them.
Completely obliterated.
If they played at the top of their ability. So, yeah, Georgia is. And another thing, Troop, about the youth of this team and what it means in the transfer portal is this year has removed the concern over playing time because guys are playing so soon at Georgia right now. And so if someone leaves, it is just going to be for the bag, or unless it's extenuating circumstances like with A.D. Mitchell. But the idea of, I'm lost on the depth chart at Georgia, if you're a good player, you're playing at Georgia right now.
For the most part, players who are leaving Georgia are players who don't see an avenue for playing time the way they want it. Or, with Damon Wilson going to Missouri, that was just a weird thing altogether. Maybe he was stat chasing. I don't know. Because we've proven no matter what your stats are, if you are that dude, you're going to go very high in the draft. So I don't know. He maybe got a little more money. That's one of those weird cases I think is an outlier. So we don't need to. That's not something that usually when players leave is because they don't have a good avenue for playing time.
Right.
And because Georgia is showing you right now they'll play you. You just got to earn it, and then when you get on the field, you got to deserve to keep it. And I think that's why in Georgia it felt like in some positions Smooch this year was prepared to take their lumps and maybe lose a game or two. It felt like that, but they got through those games and won those games, all the way to the Alabama game,
right.
And they were better for it. You guys have seen how we played at the end, and so there's nothing. If there's a team that's trending higher than Georgia right now, I don't know it. Georgia's all arrows are pointed up for what this team can do, and so many people who weren't Gunnar Stockton believers, and we were kind of hedging on it too. We didn't know. We knew that he could. I felt like coming into this season that Gunnar Stockton could lead a very successful team. It will look so much different than it did last year with Beck, and it would be a more physical, which it has been, a more running team, which it has been. But what I didn't know was that Georgia would get in some games with Tennessee, or there were a couple of games with Georgia with Ole Miss where he had to put up big numbers. He had to make big-time throws, and he was more than able to do it. We didn't know that part. When he showed us he could do that, then all bets are off on what this team can accomplish, especially with the way the defense is playing. 4th
down at Tennessee, that proclaimed Gunnar on the national stage. The 4th down throw to London Humphreys, that ball had a 6-inch window. He squeezed it into. Gunnar is among the best in the country in the last few years when he puts air under the ball. That touch, whatever you want to call it, throwing a receiver open, whatever that thing is, he excels at. And we have seen him learn to read a defense in one season. That's very rare. Usually when a guy's slow on his reads, quick to check down, they may progress some, but Gunnar has seen exponential growth throughout the season in making his reads. I believe the touchdown to Bell in the back of the end zone was his second or third read on that bullet he threw in the SEC title game. So we've seen Gunner's processing time multiply. We've seen his leadership was never in question. And that's the one good thing. But his confidence has to be sky high right now. And taking all of these weapons, guys, we've got. Think about it. Colby Young had been healthy the whole year. We'd be talking about 1,000-yard receiver right now. And Branch even has an outside chance to do it. And Frazier's should obliterate 1,000 yards.
If we play three more games, I think Branch will do it. If we play three more games, that's
right.
But you're playing in a championship game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing is as surprising as we can sit here and think ideally how things should happen, but with Gunner, it has been linear this year. It doesn't happen that way a lot of times. You may have a couple of good games and you have a couple of terrible games. You throw in interceptions, you cost yourself team. His progression has been very linear, game to game, better and better, learning from each situation and putting it in his toolbox and being able to execute that same kind of a situation next time out. So that's been interesting. And you just mentioned Colby Young. We may get him back before this postseason's over. I don't care if he doesn't do anything other than block for wide receiver screens and catch a couple passes and push forward for, like you said, he's kind of a fullback when he catches the ball.
Right.
And you don't need him to have 10 catches. You don't. Mm-mm. But he could play a meaningful role, especially if you get, because we're about championships at Georgia. You know, if you get if he's going to be available, he would be available by that championship game, if not much sooner. He would be that kind of a dude that would make a couple of key plays. That's all it takes sometimes. That's all it takes. And making blocks, he was very, very good at that. And that's big part of Georgia's offense.
He's a devastating blocker. I've always thought he could add 30 pounds and play tight end and never skip a beat. And on his I don't know if you follow his socials at all, but he's even posted some cryptic things, but there's an optimistic, surprising type of content to them where, you know, that there are those that think this could happen. And
he's just teasing us, isn't he?
Teasing. But think about where Branch and Bell and Humphreys and Delp are, and even Elias in this offense right now, and then put a threat like Colby Young on the field and watch those guys get even more open. Let's say you don't even throw him the ball. Just having him out there will open up so much for this team right now.
Yeah, I don't think he would be a focal point unless we got 2 or 3 games. If he was able to play sooner than later, then he may develop in a couple of games because you got some time off, and then championship games are mid to late January 20th, something like that. I don't know, something like that. And so he would have an opportunity, but he doesn't need to be a focal point. He just needs to do his part. We just don't have anybody like him. We really haven't developed. I mean, I think in some time, C.J. Wiley looks the part. He could be very, very dangerous in that same kind of role. He's not ready for that yet. But there's other players getting healthy. You saw Talon Taylor play. He would have had a touchdown reception against Alabama. They schemed that up.
Yeah.
It was like, that's
his play.
Man. It was like, okay, we know you dropped it the last time. We're going to give you a layup right here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he would have caught it. I'm assuming he would have caught that one, but it got batted down at the line of scrimmage. But that was a touchdown to Talon Taylor. Yeah. So he's back healthy. He'll be a weapon. And also we're seeing that Ethan Barbour, also who started game one. Mm-hmm. And if a true freshman starts game one, we saw him in the spring game smooch where I was like, okay, they were drawing up a lot of plays to Ethan Barbour. And I told you this. Yeah, they would not be they're not wasting this time just because they just for the sake of just throwing to a freshman. They're going to use him. Yeah. And if he didn't get hurt early, then he was going to be a big part. I mean, you can tell me what you think. Mm-hmm. I think in terms of the injuries, he would be number 3 on that list of Talon Taylor, Colby Young, and then Barbour in terms of what impact he could have in the playoffs, just because of how they would use him.
He earned his starts by being a devastating blocker and understanding. He really understands assignments and shifts and pass-offs and stuff like that. And he came in, and that earned him playing time. The athleticism and size is undeniable. But I am a little interested because Barbour's work is so dirty and so chaotic that maybe they bring him back slower in terms of playing time, because what got him last time was getting rolled up on, right? Because he's in the muck.
Mm-hmm.
He's where all those bodies are flying around. And so there may be, I mean, we don't know anything about his medical. You guys don't know. But there may be an air of caution just around because of the part of the field he plays on. Colby Young plays in a little safer part of the football field.
Yeah, but that's good to look forward to. And we did talk to somebody about Drew Bobo and what his injury was and what the prognosis was. And somebody in his family did reveal, even though it hadn't come out publicly, his family did reveal to a friend of ours that he's going to require that Lisfranc surgery, which is, that's a big surgery. So he's going to be down for about 6 months. So he'll miss the spring, it looks like. And the big news is you won't see him in the playoffs. And so, but Michael Tolliver will have to be that dude. And but even with Tolliver, you got to have a backup ready to play behind him if something happens. There's no guarantees. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And Bobo will be returning for next season as well.
Yes,
we can tell you all that,
dude.
So
I'm excited about all that. It's way too early. It's like me having to say, no, we can need to save this talk about what next year's team could look like. But this shouldn't be the team that wins the championship. I mean, unless you're going to go back to back again. But this is a team that has luckily gotten past a lot of the hurdles on a really, really rough schedule. They've gotten past that with winning these games. And so
this team has no business being the best team in football right now. None.
Yeah.
None. And they are. Right now, they are. Now, somebody else may emerge. They may regress. But right now, they're the best team in college football. And with the youth and the injuries they've dealt with, they have no business dominating college football right now. And they are.
Let's talk about playoffs. Playoffs. That does start this weekend, and I'm
Isn't
looking
it weird
forward
that
to it.
Allen Iverson gave us that forever. No, I mean Jim Mora, not Allen Iverson. Jim Mora gave us that.
Yeah,
forever.
Allen Iverson was
practice.
We talking about practice?
But that's you know exactly what age we are when playoffs. I just hope we win another game. We didn't accomplish poo. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I did go ahead and look before I talk about this weekend. I went ahead and looked at the New Year's Day schedule, and dude, look here. I'm gonna have a big day. I've already planning that day, New Year's Day, and the food and everything else, because that New Year's Day schedule is going to be the Texas Tech against, let's see, who's Texas Tech? The winner of probably Oregon. Oregon gets Texas Tech at noon. Let's say that. Indiana against the winner of Bama and Oklahoma at 4. And then Georgia against Tulane at 8 o'clock.
Georgia against Tulane at 8.
Tulane or Ole Miss. And I'm just messing with
you. keep calling it though, man. You're gonna look like a genius in a couple of weeks here.
No, I think it'd be Ole Miss, but it'd be funny if it wasn't. So there are 3 games that I'm gonna have to pace myself that day because it's gonna be a lot of fun.
So much fun.
But this weekend, Alabama does kick it off on Friday night at 8 o'clock. Alabama, Oklahoma. Let's go through these games, Mooch, and let's talk about what our opinions on them are. And I think everybody's it is game week, so we'll start talking about that. What do you feel? And I think probably most of these teams have gotten a chance to get a little bit healthier, and Alabama did have an issue with health.
Yes.
What do you feel about that Alabama-Oklahoma game?
Sorry, Overton is out again. And,
that's weird because he had just like a sickness like pneumonia.
Right. So I'm not sure. People are very guarded about that type of thing. So I'm not sure really what he's dealing with, but he's dealing with something. That's a huge loss. The one thing I've noticed about Oklahoma this year when they played Alabama is they have zero respect for them or fear of them. And Alabama's going to have to go earn that. The rumor mill is spinning here in North Alabama that Ty Simpson has a back injury that he's had since the Missouri game. I can neither confirm nor deny it, but I know people here fully believe it because they can trace what they see as a drop off in his play from that moment where he got whacked.
But why would they be risking him playing? I mean, if it's a serious injury, they're going to put him out there.
Exactly. That doesn't make sense either. And so, we saw him make some of the best throws we've seen a quarterback make live in September, and Georgia shut him down a few weeks ago. I chalk that more up to Georgia than I do to any sort of mythical injury Ty Simpson may be playing with. By the way, everybody is playing. If you're in the SEC, you're playing with something that's hurt right now. But I don't know. I really like Oklahoma in the game. I know it's hard to beat a team twice in a year, as they say. I like Oklahoma. I don't know. I have this fantasy of an Alabama-Georgia national championship game that would be really nice. Fun.
And the rest of the country would hate it. But
they would hate it. We would be unbearable. Yeah. And but I don't know. What do you think? I think Oklahoma in a slog, 24-17, something like that.
Let me ask you this. And DeBoer did come out and said he had no interest in talking to anybody, hadn't talked to anybody, wasn't going anywhere. He said that, and people are still saying, I don't believe him.
They're not believing him.
What Alabama? Do they believe him, Alabama fans? Because you were in Huntsville. You deal with more Alabama fans than you do Georgia fans.
Well, they told me this, that so they lose to Georgia in the SEC title game. Had they been left out of the playoffs, all the Alabama fans that I've talked to said they would have demanded DeBoer be fired if they just get left out of the playoffs. So in other words, according to Alabama fans, at least in their eyes, the playoff committee saved DeBoer's job. So that tells you where their love is.
But do you believe
DeBoer around here?
Do they believe DeBoer when he says he's not going anywhere?
They don't trust him, and they do not believe him. They do not think he belongs in the South. That is
he feels like an interloper.
He feels like an interloper. That is their biggest complaint, and they do not hold out any hope for advancing deep into the playoff. As the most part, you've got your diehards, of course.
If they beat Oklahoma, they'll be championship bound.
Yeah,
it's the best thing ever.
Best thing ever. So,
but dude, you're right.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough game for them. Obviously, they've already lost to Oklahoma last 2 years, right?
Last 2 years.
And I don't think Oklahoma is a good matchup for them because you saw what Georgia did to their offense when they got after the quarterback. Well, Oklahoma is good or better, has played that way. Maybe take a little more risk, but they are very good up front.
They're good at coming after the quarterback, yeah.
And it's going to be tough for Alabama to score. I think the only way Alabama wins that is in a low-scoring game where they just make one more play than Oklahoma, because Oklahoma is also offensively challenged, and Mateer is a great athlete. He can do some good things, but he's prone to make mistakes, and he's not efficient as a quarterback. And I really think Alabama's defense is good too. People will look at Gunnar Stockton in that game against Alabama, and he played. He played to win, but Alabama's defense, especially their linebackers and secondary, give them a lot of credit for keeping Gunnar Stockton uncomfortable in what he was looking at, what he was reading, and what he felt was the right. I mean, they really muddied up some things and made him make some decisions. He made the right decisions on a lot of those plays, but Alabama is still got a very good defense. Even if they're not a team that just absolutely demolishes the run or the line of scrimmage, very good defense that Alabama has. So this would likely be a very low-scoring game. And I'm like you. I favor Oklahoma's defense in a low-scoring game, and I would lean towards Oklahoma winning that game. Not that I want Oklahoma to win the game. I think it would be more interesting if Alabama won it.
Agreed.
But I think Oklahoma is going to win that game and move forward to play
the one thing
Indiana.
that Bama really succeeded in, they beat Gunnar Stockton up. I mean, Gunnar was just tougher than they were, but they beat him up.
Take some hits.
Now, can you imagine if so Mateer is much more oriented toward running than Gunnar is. And so when you're almost a run first type of quarterback, Alabama they've got the speed to handle that. And so that's the plus for Bama going into this game. They've just got to generate offense with the quarterback under pressure. And we've seen Ryan Williams become a punchline this year with dropping footballs and not a natural catcher of the football. I hear every time someone brings up Ryan Williams here in Alabama, he's not a natural receiver of the football. He's good with the ball in his hand. He just is not a catcher. He can't catch.
Get him the ball any way you can then. Come on.
Get him the ball any way you can.
The two biggest plays he had, Smooch, against Georgia were just little short passes. Give him the ball, let him make a move, make somebody miss. That's his best attribute, making you miss and getting downfield.
Yeah.
Let him do that. Let him do his thing.
Get the ball in his hands. You remember when the Arian was having the drop problems at Georgia, they get him the ball in the end around and just make them defend that speed for a play or two. They need to do more of that with Ryan Williams and not worry about winning ugly. Georgia doesn't mind winning ugly. I have a feeling that DeBoer really likes to win pretty games. And you're not going to beat Oklahoma pretty. It's going to be down and dirty. And I think Oklahoma's tougher.
It's tough. It's not natural for DeBoer. We knew when he came in there, it looked like he was a finesse coach and he was going to accept that from his players because he had all these new toys. I mean, I would feel that way coming from Washington, Alabama. I'm like, I got more weapons than I could ever ask for right now. But he didn't set the standard and the culture in terms of being that physical team. He's trying. They tried to adjust that midway last season. You heard the players say it. They pretty much said it. We haven't been doing this. This is what we need to do now. Starting right now. Now we're going to be tough.
Wait for it.
And I think that's one of the things. I don't think they're great up front. I think that their secondary, they do a good job on the back end. And so I do think they're going to lose this game. And then we'll have a lot more to talk about what transpires after that. The other game, Smooch, coming up, or a couple more games, I guess Saturday. That's the only game Friday. And so set your schedule to 8 o'clock Friday night. Then Saturday at noon, we have Miami playing against Texas A&M. And that's interesting just because of the styles of both those teams. Miami came into this year looking like they were going to dominate on the offensive and defensive lines. Things have changed a little bit. They're still good there. But then Beck showed you his true colors. But he's still one of those guys who's got a puncher's chance. If you let Beck be comfortable,
puncher's chance,
dangerous. And so we've seen what A&M can do too. So that's a very interesting matchup.
Beck has an NFL first overall pick arm. It's just what it's attached to that will determine his future. But the arm is there. I don't think I will have ever rooted for Carson Beck as hard as I will root for him in this game because I want a Georgia Miami showdown. Also, there wouldn't be a single person in the South not tuned into that. But I don't know. Looking at it legitimately, I don't know I don't see where an SEC team is going to get beaten by Miami. I don't want to sound like an SEC snob, but a playoff level SEC team losing to Miami doesn't sound right to me. It may happen, but I just think at this time of the year, it's just so much want and how far are you willing to go to get it? And look, I love Carson. I hope he goes on and has a great career, but he does not descend to the deepest depths to go get that win. He doesn't have that I'm going to win or we're going to die on this field tonight mentality. And so I don't know. That's the toughest game to call. And if I had to put money on the game, I would go A&M.
Yeah. Well, Marcel Reed has the factor that Beck doesn't have. Beck's got the experience. He could he could turn it on and be the best player the rest of the way, but he doesn't have that dual threat, the running quarterback. And this postseason might be all about that.
Yeah.
It might be which teams are more efficient in the red zone, which teams can score touchdowns instead of field goals. And that running quarterback like Marcel Reed can do. And he's got a lot of explosive playmakers too. And he's had a good defense this year. But neither of these teams have a pedigree of you don't know what they're going to do when the lights are the brightest. You don't, because they haven't been here. Yeah. And even Miami's even further away. Miami's been a while since they've been here. And then you look at A&M, they've been a joke. They've had the most talented roster a few years and just couldn't get out of their own way. Just never put it together because the culture was never right. Right. And now they have an opportunity. I think, I kind of think like you that it's an interesting game to watch. I want to see what Beck does. Malachi Toney, I want to see those guys, but I just think that A&M is more explosive, a better defense, and got a quarterback who can beat you a lot of different ways. But he's prone to make mistakes, just like Carson Beck is. Yeah. And so, who makes the fewest mistakes, and who's good in the red zone? I feel like it's going to be A&M. I really don't know how it's going to transpire. It's going to be a high score. I think it might be a lot of points. I think
you're looking at 35-32, something around there.
It could be something like that. That would be so much fun for a noon game Saturday.
Woo, baby.
Dude, a lot of fun. So I'm going Oklahoma in that game. And then there is a 3:30 game as well. the Tulane game was at 3:30. Who are we playing?
That's Ole Miss, Tulane.
Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Again, why am I taking shots at Ole Miss? I like Ole Miss. I enjoyed watching them this year. Yeah.
Well, offensive coordinator's back on the scene, right? And so,
but we're hearing all kind of stuff about Trinidad Chambliss. He won't give him a straight answer on what he's going to do next year. I just feel like there's a lot that's not buttoned down about this team. Dangerous team, especially offensively, but not buttoned down. And so I do think they'll get by. You know, I don't know anything about Tulane other than they shouldn't beat an SEC team with only one loss at this point. But you'll find out a little bit about if let's say if Tulane just plays just doesn't kill themselves, just doesn't come out there committing turnovers and doing stupid stuff, then you'll see if Ole Miss has really got their heads together for the Georgia game. And interesting. Obviously, I think that Ole Miss is going to win this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't look good doing it.
That's exactly right. I mean, those games where, now Ole Miss could come out and just blow them out of the water from the beginning. They've got the talent to do it. But my gut tells me this is going to be one of those games that's way too close at halftime, 13-10. And people are like, what in the world is going on? And then Ole Miss just outlasts them. They can just keep running talent out onto the field. And so they have to take Tulane into deep water. And that's not how you should beat a team like Tulane. And so I think they get by Tulane and then they limp into the Georgia matchup. That's kind of how there's just so many distractions. They've got so much going on. And that does help unite a team, but it doesn't comfort a team. And it doesn't. That everybody on that team right now has a feeling of uneasiness from the head coach leaving to the quarterback uncertainty. It's just an uneasy feeling, and it's a distraction that takes away from your prep. And that may be enough to get past Tulane, but if there was going to be a massive upset, this is where it would be. I'll say that.
And Ole Miss did win in a blowout the first matchup. They have played each other this season.
Right, they played. Things
are different. We'll see. We'll see. The night game is the Oregon James Madison game, and I mean, what do we know? We predict that Oregon should win this game and win it easily. But we don't know. We don't know. We will see what some of these teams – and it's a good argument going forward whether these teams should be included in this type of situation, Tulane or James Madison. If they hold their own and make it a ball game, then that's going to be out there. Maybe we still give these bids to these teams, and even though we don't think they have a chance, and it's a wasted because you missing out on teams like Notre Dame and Texas jumping in there.
Right.
And we would all love to see those teams in there. But if they show you they belong, then that's all part of what they want to say, data points. Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't like it. I don't like James Madison being in over even Notre Dame. I know you guys have gone psycho right now, but
yes,
I don't like James Madison being in, and so I would really like to see Oregon make it look ridiculous that team is on the field with them, and that might be the game to do it in. I'm not sure Ole Miss can get it together enough to do that against Tulane. They may. But I really think Oregon could just go out and say, hey, y'all got to fix something because this is essentially a first-round bye for us and just a practice game, and just go out and thump them. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen because I don't I've heard it all explained and how the playoffs, how they select everything. That's ridiculous. Texas staying home so James Madison could play. If you put Texas on the field with James Madison, it'd be a 50-point blowout. And it's just I don't like it. It cheapens it to me. I love Cinderella stories, but James Madison ain't one.
That's the slate this week. Those teams will move on. Whoever wins those games to play on the 31st of December, and then the 1st, and that's going to be some monumental games. Can't wait for that. Holidays kind of fit right around there. We got some time off. We're going to be. Woo, man, please.
So good.
But this is the next segment, Smooch, is something that I you guys have missed. It's been far too long. Smooch is going to hit that button right now.
So delusion is a fixed false belief that doesn't change in light of conflicting evidence.
They don't know reality from their dream worlds, and they won't go outside and play.
A fixed false belief that is not grounded in reality.
All right, the Delusional Fan Alert.
There we are.
The DFA, and when the games are going on during the season, we talk more, specific football. There's so much going on that we don't always have an opportunity to focus on ridiculous commentary from other fan bases. But this week we do. We do.
Yes, absolutely. And, I want to take this moment to apologize to the Dog Show loyal fans that it's been this long in between DFA. We're going to make up for it right now. We got some good stuff.
Yeah, we do. And the first up is, man, I don't care enough about the Big Ten football or Michigan or Ohio State to talk much about those guys. But Michigan's had, they have been, like a tabloid magazine the past few years.
They've got a documentary about them, Troop.
Please, right? But I did come across, as they are now in a coaching search. You guys know about Sharon Moore and his issues.
Yeah.
They have a coaching search. They had a terrible recruiting class because they don't have a coach at the worst possible time of the year.
Right.
And they got players probably coming and going, are going to be leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they just have too much money invested and they just going to stick with it. But a lot of players aren't going to do that because they'll get money wherever they go.
Yep.
And so they're in a coaching search. Well, it was brought up that Glenn Schumann might be a really good option to coach, to be a guy who comes into Michigan and who's got a winning pedigree. And somebody pointed out over all his levels of football, and from a graduate assistant on up, he's been a part of 6 championships. That means it's got to mean something when you're around Saban and who could say they've been around Saban and Kirby Smart for 6 championships? Who?
If those guys are keeping you around, they're doing it for a reason, guys.
Yeah. And so leave it to a Michigan fan.
Here it is.
Who is not in touch with reality at this point
right.
to say this. And now somebody said, and there was 2 comments. Mm-hmm. And one guy, Hardball Hammer, says that apparently Schumann is an enormous scumbag. I would not be happy with that hire.
Actually, you corrected his grammar. He just put would not be happy with that hire. So he has no subject in his sentence, which is also indicative of a Michigan.
Have you heard anything about Schumann being a bad dude or having any kind of issues or anything? I mean, they just think about the guys they've had. They just had to fire Sharon Moore. Right. But Schumann's the scumbag.
Yeah, Schumann's the guy that you're really worried about. You don't want that guy coming in. Listen, we have friends that are around the Georgia program every day. That's part of how we do this show. And we've never heard anything but what an upstanding dude Glenn Schumann is. Even when we were frustrated with some of Schumann's game plans earlier in the season, the thing was, yeah, he's a good guy, though, and the players love him. We heard that. And now he's putting the results on the field that are impossible to argue with. 2 shows ago, right? No, last show, I said Glenn Schumann did such a great job in the SEC title game, it'll be difficult to keep him because of what a coach he is. The scumbag thing, I think you're just pulling that out of thin air.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
Where do you hear that? I mean, it's probably because the fans who really don't pay attention, look at headlines, think that Georgia it has a culture issue and they have speeding ticket problems and then they got this and that is all kind of these issues. But we know that Georgia would not be as successful as they are, and Kirby's dealt with those individually the way a man should, the way we would anticipate he would, and the way we would deal with it if we were there on individual cases. And some people got chances with punishment. Some people hit the road kind of a deal. And he dealt with those the way you would have to do that. And as a program and a university, that I think Schumann's is even if he doesn't have the same motor. Who has a motor like Kirby Smart? Right. He's still an extension of him. And anybody who's been around that and knows that's what is needed, boy, sign me up. I hope he doesn't go because I don't think he would. But the response to that, though, Smooch, was just as bad.
Let's hear it.
And the response to, and you guys are reading it, I don't think he's very good at his current job either. So yeah, they just totally. Dismissing that Georgia's defense is a good defense. It's historically a good defense,
right?
And I don't know.
And I don't
know where that comes from. That's just ignorance, right?
Kids. He's done it with kids this year, guys. Look, we were hard when we didn't see the results we wanted and we didn't see the schemes that we were used to seeing early in the season. But my goodness, you cannot argue with what they just did to Alabama. A measly late 7 points. to Alabama. Are you kidding? It is impossible to make the argument that the man's not in the top 1% of guys that do what he does. And on top of that, he's doing it with a defensive-minded head coach. So he is able to coach his game and subsist next to the greatest coach in college football. Those are all signs of high character, high intelligence, and a great ability to implement his game plan in the presence of Hall of Fame type of greatness. So,
Yeah, Michigan, get out of your own way.
Yeah.
We wouldn't think anything else. And I wish I had this. I wish I had this pulled up, but somebody quoted a Michigan fan on Twitter the other day, and we're going back and forth on this, and he was like, "Well, we went 15-0." This tells you where they live, their headspace is. We went 15-0 in 2023. Tell me when's the last time you did that? We were like, year before. You were actually the first. You were actually the first a win as a part of a 29-game winning streak, Michigan.
That's
the guy,
right.
You know,
yeah.
And so they just disappeared. He had no comment, but that's just not knowing. Those comments mean you can't get out of your little small bubble. You don't know what else is going on. I don't care how good Georgia is. You just have missed it, apparently. Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, we like making fun of Michigan, but guys, don't make it easy. That's easy.
That was a little bit easy right there. Another DFA. And this is headed right towards this is weird. Cam Mellor does some kind of a statistical analytical page. It's called Pro Football Sports Network in college, whatever. PF. We'll give him a shout out. PFSN College, and he did the grades for around the country. But the check this out: defensive line grades for 2025. And Oklahoma, a great defensive line. They finished first, 92 grade. And Texas A&M, another good defensive line, 91.5. Georgia is not in the top 5, Smooch.
Isn't that adorable?
As a defensive line. Georgia's not in the top 10, actually. Actually, Georgia is dead last.
Dead last.
And I don't know what his analytics are putting this out there, but maybe he should have stopped it and ran it again. Yeah. Because Georgia is behind teams like Arkansas, Mississippi State,
Florida,
Tennessee. Those are all the teams. Kentucky, Ole Miss, teams that had very porous defenses, and especially defensive line. Georgia is, I think, number 1 in SEC in stopping the run this year.
Right. That's hard to do with a bad defensive line, by the way.
It's hard to do. Georgia's defensive line is really good. It would make you think that their analytics are all about lost yardage plays or maybe sacks. I don't know. It's got to be something that's skewed.
My guess is sacks and starters would be highly weighted. You know, Georgia
rotates.
Georgia plays 11 guys on the defensive line. You know, something crazy like that. That's my guess, is that he's trying to focus on starters and sack numbers, things like that. And because if you look, there's 10 sack guys near the top of this list. And falling in love with the sack's a dangerous thing. It's pressures you want, because pressures lead to interceptions. Sacks do not lead to interceptions. And anyway, yeah, that's a silly one. I would love to see him, like you said, break this down for us. I want to know, because his math ain't mathing to me.
Yeah, I'm going to send something else to you right now. I kind of clipped it differently. I'm going to clip the Dog Show comment right next to it. And we're talking about, let's see, what are we talking about here? Talking about quarterbacks and developing quarterbacks. This is a Nebraska fan.
Oh.
And obviously he's in his feelings about losing Raiola, and maybe Georgia saying, kind of disparaging them a little bit. They couldn't keep Raiola, even though Kurt Herbstreit basically packaged him over there and sent him to start some kind of new trend and bring these schools back. But this is from Mike Black, who, again, without a ton of knowledge that he thought he had, wanted to disparage Georgia in terms of developing quarterbacks.
Yeah,
and you can say that Georgia hasn't had a lot of 5-star quarterbacks come in and dominate, but you can say that about virtually every program.
Of course.
That's not typical.
Right.
Yeah. So, you can read this, but Mike Black says that Fromm regressed. Stetson Bennett regressed. Beck regressed. Easton regressed. And they ran off fields. One success doesn't mean you're good at developing. Gunner has been very good, and Georgia is very good, but they're not a top 20 quarterback development program.
Wow. So let me see if I get this right. So Georgia takes a walk-on quarterback. that not only wins 2 national championships, but in his final game, he breaks ties Joe Burrow's touchdown record, and did not play in the end of that game because he got his curtain call. So Gunner literally wrote the record book on play. Bennett. Yeah, sorry. Bennett. See, I'm prognosticating.
We don't call him Bennett. It's Stetson. What am I saying?
Stetson, yeah. Stetson literally wrote the book on quarterback progression and played his absolute best game in his very last game, which was also his most important game. I don't know if he knows what the word regressed means. I really think he doesn't have a clue on it because
I think he arrived at what he wanted. I think he started off in what he wanted to say and then just made up stuff to support it that had made no sense.
Right. He decided his conclusion and then searched for evidence to back it up.
That's it.
That has to be what it is, because when Stet decided to come back for that second year, Georgia fans, we were okay, that's good, but we weren't doing backflips over it because we had not seen the Stetson we would see the next year, where he got even better and he was a Heisman Trophy finalist, for crying out loud. Like, how many quarterbacks that regress are Heisman Trophy finalists?
I think that's where he really went off the rails on that. The other comments could be like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's look at it. The Stetson one, if you got to make a point, don't include the most ridiculous part of it in the middle of it, because nobody's going to see the rest of it. The question was, because people will jump right on that and miss the other points that maybe have some merit. The question is did Eason regress? Did Fromm regress? Mm-hmm. Did Beck regress? But those are all nuanced conversations. Eason never did it anywhere. Name a place that Eason, despite from in high school playing against these little kids and having a rocket arm, name a place that Eason ever did it. He didn't. So regression, he just never did. He got injured.
He just wasn't the real deal. I mean,
he wasn't. Fromm, and this is a huge topic. We could do this. Should be a Troop and Smooch After Dark where we talk about Fromm and Fields. There you go, nailed it. Fromm and Fields. That might be our first topic on Troop and Smooch After Dark.
I love it.
And it's alliteration too. So Fromm.
You're going to have to explain alliteration for the Michigan fans, but we can do that later.
So, yeah, this is a Nebraska fan here too. But so Fromm took Georgia to the national championship and did everything he could to win it.
Yeah. He
was a couple defensive plays away from winning the national championship as a freshman and a great team around him.
Tyler Simmons was on sides, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But and two of the best running backs to ever play at Georgia on the same team, just shredding people. Mm-hmm. So he had the right team around him, but he was the right quarterback for that team. His second season, he was better. The stats say he was better his sophomore season. The question becomes what happened Fromm's junior season. That was also was that Fields' first season? Was he there the year? He was there the year before he left, I think. Yeah. But with Fromm, we won't talk about Fields at all because that's, again, you got to tune in to Troop and Smooch After Dark when we release that one.
Yes, sir.
But with Fromm, there were circumstances to him having a poor junior season. The two biggest circumstances were that he had no wide receivers, and his top wide receiver, what was his name? He got injured at some point. He had nobody to throw to, and then he had Coley, who is a great recruiter and a great coach, not a good OC.
Right.
It was bad.
As Texas A&M found out. Right. Mm-hmm.
So bad he got fired because of that season. So there were some circumstances involved with that, and Fromm should have came back his senior season and
absolutely
got himself. I mean, that would have been Monken's first year, and we don't know how that would have played out. But he would have had better opportunity, and he went to the NFL. But and then the other one, we could talk about Beck if you want to, but Beck was his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
In that situation, he really was.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about regressing. Beck was just who he was. And they got a lot. Georgia scored 40 points a game with Beck. And then Beck got full of himself and got addicted to the life. Mm-hmm. And that cost him. I do believe that. And plus he just isn't. I think Beck is a great talent and a player who, with all the pieces around him, is a sensational quarterback. But you can't anyway. I don't think it's a good argument that Georgia doesn't develop quarterbacks with Beck.
It's a silly argument. Delusional would be the best way to describe that argument.
Yeah, because Beck averaged 40 points a game in 2023. So there's that. Mike Black. Anyway, Georgia put all that together. Georgia's coaching staff, Georgia's player development, it all works together. It all works because of Kirby Smart and what it demands.
Yeah,
and it's tough as guys in our 50s now, and we have lived our own life. We see how people are built differently, how people can be very talented in certain aspects of their life. And some people have that drive, have that talent, have that intelligence, and put it all together and just have a motor. And there are a few people who are built that way.
That's right.
Me, you let me coach Georgia, and I'm having, I could have everything around me I needed to. I'm just enjoying myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm putting 1 year in. But somebody like there's some certain people like Kirby Smart who are built a certain way that they're never satisfied, and it's never what they just accomplished that day. It's what they're accomplishing the next day, and it's the next day and the next day. And put coaches around, and you found out over the years every coach and every player isn't built to succeed in that program.
That's right.
And if you can stay in Georgia, if you can stay next to Kirby Smart for that many years, that says a whole lot.
Right.
And we want to keep some stability and keep these coaches and everything together. But if I was trying to hire, I want somebody that's been next to Saban, next to Kirby Smart, and has survived it.
Right. Maybe not that has a quarterback that went first overall, but someone that's been through it. So why is no one beating down the door to hire Coach O? Didn't he have one of the best quarterback development stories in history when he got Joe Burrow from Ohio State, and then they went on and had that historic run? Like, why is no one saying that's the best quarterback developer in history? This dude went from the outhouse to the Heisman and won a national championship. Yeah, get him back, man. There's your hire, guys. Go get him.
Let me ask you this. I'm glad you brought that up. And this could be another segment, but as we're wrapping the show up, we're at the tail end of it right here. Coach Orgeron said some interesting things, and I felt like a lot of parts of the country who weren't SEC parts of the country really connected with this when he talked about how they used to, before NIL, LSU used to pay players. Yeah. And, of course, Georgia used to pay players. And Alabama used to pay players. And that's why SEC was always so good, because they were allowed to pay players. Nobody else was. And I'm like, are you serious? Do you think that a team like Alabama paid players, but a team like Ohio State didn't? Or a team like Nebraska or USC? Everybody was doing the same thing, getting the same edge. And there's just flush that out of your system. Everybody who's trying to get players had a booster who was ready to pay them, drop a bag to them. That's not just SEC. The difference in the SEC, Smooch, is that most of the great players were in this area. The recruiting was much easier. They were living in Alabama. They were living in Mississippi. They were living in Georgia. They were living in Florida, living in Texas.
That's it. That's the point.
All these areas were the groupings of talent, and where the coaches win as well. Because guess where coaches want to play? Our coaches want to coach. They want to have their career around access to the best players in the country.
Right.
And not saying there aren't good players, and of course California, of course some players up in the northeastern, but that's not where the majority of the special talented players are easy pickings. You can like you said a couple weeks ago, you can roll out of bed at LSU and get about 3 5-star wide receivers. They just there.
Absolutely.
And same thing for Florida with defensive backs.
And we're seeing it, right? We're seeing, now that the playing field is even when it comes to paying players, we're going to see coaches like Kirby Smart disappear from relevance. Well, it was even before. Everybody was doing stuff they weren't supposed to do, just like they're all doing stuff they're not supposed to do now. But every time you change the rules, eventually the cream will still rise to the top. And that cream is Kirby Smart. And he'll figure it out. He'll still rise to the top. Guys like Saban, when they got out, he didn't want to make those adjustments anymore. You get to a point, you got grandkids, you got more money than your great-grandkids could ever spend. What's he hanging around for? Kirby, on the other hand, is determined to master this newest system of college football, and you'll just still see the cream rise right to the top. It'll be the same coaches. This idea of now that we pay players, things are going to be equalized. Well, Texas A&M bought the best recruiting class in the history of college football and did zero with them. I mean, there's your evidence.
Yeah. Now, I will admit that it has closed the talent gap, so some of these games are closer. You got to work a little harder, but you got to win in the details a lot of times, and so it's good for college football not to have 65-7 games. It's good for
100%.
And so you're not seeing a ton of that. But yeah. I mean, everybody paid players. Don't get out of your yeah. I don't believe that. I know you guys makes you feel good about it. You feel like that you were above that, and now you got a chance to compete because of that's not allowed anymore. It's still the Wild Wild West more than it ever has been.
Oh, 100%.
More than it ever has. There's more money floating around now than there ever has been. Mm-hmm. And
Not
look
to
at Michigan.
mention-
Michigan's got a lot of money, right now. And look what they're doing. They won a national championship, but that was tainted. I mean, if you don't believe, I mean, come on. Not that they wouldn't have won anyway, but we don't know that.
They flat out cheated, and that's incontrovertible. So
yeah. Anyway,
Georgia doesn't have a documentary about them. That's all I'm saying.
That just popped up when you were talking about that, and I was like, Orgeron. He was saying some stuff that got people excited from the North. They were like, I knew it. I knew you guys were paying these players, and now, everybody's doing it now. So we got a better shot.
Now,
you guys
here
were
we
cheating
come.
the whole time,
Yeah.
and none of that was legitimate. I'm like, buddy, you ain't been to some high school football games around Florida and Georgia and looked at some of these cats play. I've been watching the high school championship is going on right now. I've been watching them the last couple of days. There's some players, dude. And there's always that kind of talent just
everywhere down here. Yep.
So anyway, I enjoyed talking some playoff football. We'll be back in a few days and rehash what happened, and plus start talking about Georgia's opponent, whether it's Tulane or Ole Miss. We don't know just yet. But there'll be a lot more stuff to talk about after that. So, all right. For Smooch Moncrief, it's Troop Brinson saying so long. We'll see you soon.
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.
It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show.